Hello and welcome back. We are going through our sales stages and we are at the final stage, which is close. So let's talk about it. This is the sales ops effect where we drive predictable growth in small to medium-sized businesses. Close, it can be said that it's not actually one stage, but it's two or three. And so we say the close stage because the deal is no longer open, obviously. It's no longer in the pipeline. It's now closed. And it can close in different ways. So we can lose a deal because we lost it. We lost out to a competitor. We lost out to them deciding to take it in-house. We lost out because they've had a change of heart and it's actually bad timing because something else has actually happened. It could be anything. And that's sad. But that is one of the close options. Close winning, on the other hand, is what we really, really want. That is where a client has signed on the dotted line. We are definitely working together. And obviously, everybody wants to close win, but I want to strengthen the point of it's when you get a signature, it's when it's official, it's when it's binding, because I have had experience of working with some organizations where they like to bend the rules on that. And that can happen from lots of different directions. There are some organizations where some salespeople or their managers will be like, oh, well, yeah, it's as good as a done deal. So you want to just hit the close one button now so that it shows that we've gotten the deal done inside of this quarter. No, no, we don't mess about with that for any reason, because then other things start to get impacted by that. When the delivery team wants to then know what's going on, they can't know fully what's going on yet because it hasn't been signed. And sometimes it could be weeks and weeks and weeks later before it's actually signed, and now you've got a problem. It can even be said at the highest level where people want to play around with that, where another experience that I had with a company where, and really this was bad, but because the business was in a bad way and there wasn't much good to talk about, to shout about, they believed this deal was coming in, it was a sure thing. So it went all the way up to the CEO. I don't know who told him that this would be a good thing to do, but the CEO signed off on it, that they would tell the whole organization that yes, we had won this X client, right? Not any company called X. I'm just using that as a letter, right? And it was bad enough that it was going to come out in the monthly conference, and the CEO had to message me beforehand to tell me that they were going to lie and say that, because I imagine he knew my facial expressions on that call would be like, excuse me, what? Because it's not signed. There's nothing in here. No, it's not signed, right? And so that was bad enough. But what was even worse is that the CFO didn't know. So if you're going to try to pull a fast one over the rest of your business, the minimum that you want to do is make sure that all of the higher ups know that you've done that, because the CFO, months and months and months later, when I'm having my direct conversations with him and we're talking about win rates and things like that, and because the win rates weren't very good, like I say, they didn't have a lot of good things to shout about for many, many reasons. And like there's only so much sales ops can do, and other things that are very, very obvious just aren't happening. But anyway, it was only months later that when I was having conversations with the CFO, that we're going through the numbers. And so I just say offhandedly, obviously that's not real, so we can ignore that one. And he was like, what? I thought that was signed and done. I was like, it is not. Categorically, it is not. I will show you the inside of the system. There is no contract in here. It is not signed. We've just been telling the rest of the organization, they've just been telling the rest of the organization that for months to give them something positive to shout about. But the people in the C-suite didn't all know. That is how bad and out of hand things can get when you just tweak something to say, oh no, well it's a sure thing, it's coming in, it's fine. No, I've seen it fall down so many times. When it's signed is when it's closed won, and not a second before. I don't care what month it is. No, because it causes so many other problems just because one person, two people, five people wanted to look good for whatever stupid reason. No, winning should be a good thing. You don't just pretend something is happening because you'd like it to. You're just fooling yourself. And you're having to keep secrets, and it's just long. Now, in many organizations, there's just closed won and closed lost. How I like to build it in organizations is close won, close lost, and close not qualified. You would have heard me say this before, right? And the reason why I like that third stage of close not qualified is because there are sales stages, as you know, that exist before we know a deal is fully qualified, right? We've got the qualify stage, we've got the develop stage. And then if you have that stage where we have the internal validation, that would be the last point where internally we would be qualifying that deal, right? But for the deals that are lost during the qualify or develop stage, the reason why I don't think of them as a lost deal is because if you all of that is development. So we're just finding out more and more information. And it could be the case at any point during that qualified develop stage or internal validation that us as a company internally can decide we don't want to go ahead, or they need things to happen much, much faster than we can possibly deliver to them, right? And so that's why at that stage, if we decide we're no longer going to go ahead with that deal, or that deal is removed from the table, it's not a qualified deal. That's my personal definition of it anyway. It's not a qualified deal. And so you would mark it as closed, not qualified to get it out of the pipeline, but to correctly note that, you know, exactly what happened. We didn't lose it. It just wasn't qualified. And as with everything, no matter if it's something's been closed won or closed lost or closed not qualified, there'll be your reason as to what happened. For all of them, you want to know the reasons why you won, you want to know the reasons why you lost, and you want to know the reasons why something wasn't qualified, because all of that is data that we then go back and look at to say, okay, when we're looking at our win rates and stuff, we can look at say, okay, so depending on whether it's new business, expansion, or renewals, what are the win rates saying, and what's the reason? What are the reasons saying? You know, depending on the sales cycle, if something's taking far too long and then we win or then we lose, then what's the reasoning? And that might all seem like it's all too much detail, but trust me, there's gold in that information. Your business is talking to you as long as you collect the information and you know how to read it. It will tell you exactly what happened. And if you know what happened, if you know what spring looks like, if you know what summer looks like, if you know what autumn looks like and winter, then you know how to prepare for it in the future. And nothing is ever going to be exactly the same. But if you've got the information there, that's what sales ops is for, to create that structure by listening to the business and modifying so that we can grow, and stabilizing so that we can grow. You modify as necessary, not for no reason, not because there's a new bit of tech. You modify based on what the data is saying. You don't just move forward, powering through for no reason. You want to have that data to say, why did we lose? Why did we, you know, if we've got a bunch of stuff that's closed, not qualified, that number's going to look really, really high in the beginning, and people are just going to have to get used to it. Because if we're trying to go for the big numbers that we're going to go for, we cannot expect to win 100% of our deals. You know, the amount of times I've had conversations about win rates, and it seems like as if it's, I don't know if it's just not like out of vogue or whatever, but I'm just like, actually look at your win rate and then look at how it changes depending on how big the sale is, how long the sale took to win or lose, because win rate is obviously, it shows you both, you know, and the different types of services and the different opportunity types. All of those things will tell you something. The win rate, just to know the number on its own and saying, we want to push that win rate up, that's way too high level to look at it. It's not enough. It is not enough. The win rate is there to show you what happened and also to help guide you towards the future. And it's another conversation that I'll be having in another episode, where we'll go into a little bit more about win rate and how you can use that to help to sort out your pipeline goals, because like that's like one of the easiest ways to do it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But you know, I can ramble. Sales stages, closing, close won, close lost, close not qualified. You can build those things in. You can build those things in. Most CRMs that I've been looking at seem to be pretty versions of Excel. You know, the big daddy is Salesforce, but people love HubSpot as well. It really does work with what works for you in your business. But these stages are important. They're not something to be just looked over because, oh yeah, it's whatever. And there's no right or wrong way. It's what works for your business. And you have to have the courage to be able to have the conversation and test things out. But in my lengthy experience, when you do have that conversation very, very clearly with the senior people around you, and you say, we're going to be testing this out, and in 3 months, we're going to look at the numbers, and in 6 months, we're going to look at the numbers. And if we feel like we need to adjust, we will. And do you know what? In a lot of cases, adjustment isn't actually needed. Not the big adjustments anyway, it's only tiny little things. I think people are afraid of change because change causes change, which sounds silly to say it, but it's just like, it's the whole everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change. It causes stress, it causes tension, but the change is good as long as you know how to communicate it. If people know this is happening, they're involved, and they know when they're going to get future updates, and they can always still be involved and have their say, then people are much more receptive to change. And I hope that has helped you when it comes to thinking about all of those stages. I will always be instilling a closed, not qualified stage because it really helps salespeople as well once they understand what that means. Because, you know, they'll end up seeing a big number and going, oh, I don't want my closed not qualified to be that high. It's like, yes, and the alternative is it would just say closed lost. Now, did you lose the deal or was it not qualified? Oh, well, exactly. You just have to explain it. You explain it to them, you explain it to their sales managers, you explain it to the senior leadership team that are looking on your reports and inside the reports as well as a reminder so that people don't freak out because they're not used to seeing things that they don't understand. So if you've got any questions about that, do let me know in the comments wherever you're watching or listening to this. I've enjoyed going through this, and we'll be having some more interview guests coming up soon because things are changing around here. I'm expanding Sales Ops Effect. So we don't just have courses now, there are services for small to medium-sized businesses that I've managed to work out in a way that works for the people that need those services, and it works for me as well. Because, you know, a bit of a meta thing here, but with your businesses, because small and medium-sized business owners listen and watch this as well, we can get too overeager sometimes and say, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. And it's like, actually, you can't go at 100 miles per hour all day, every single day. You have to do stuff that works and is, I don't want to use realistic because it kind of tamps down the energy, but is something that you can live with. The business needs to stabilize to live in order to grow, right? So been launching some new services recently. If you want to go and check them out, you can just go on salesopseffect.com and hit the services button in the toolbar at the top, that top row there, and it will show you all of the different options. I'm very, very proud of them, and we are having some really good results and talking to many people. So I'm quite happy, but do go check them out and let me know what you think, and let me know if you would benefit from them. So thank you for listening to this. We'll be coming back with an interview next week, and then we'll be on to, let's watch this space. Something to do with the pipeline. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please look at the list of other episodes. I'm sure there's another one that can help you. See you next time.